What role do you play in your community?
So I'm an educator. So that's one way to give back to the community by educating children. I also am the co-sponsor of the National Honor Society, and one of the components is service. Okay, so not only talking about what we're going to do for the community, but actually putting a plan of action into place and going out there and doing it. Okay.
How have you been impacted by your community?
Well, positively, I love Chicago. I love the South Side. I've always lived on the South Side of Chicago. Negatively, though, when we talk about the gun violence and things like that, I guess for my daughter, I'm always very fearful. So it makes me always tell her, like, I need to know who you're with, where you are, where you're going, so on and so forth. Because in this day and age, it's sad, anything could happen.
If you could change anything about your community, what would it be and why?
I guess I would change the fact that we still are in certain communities. So you know how people say, well, mostly black people live in Inglewood or certain areas, and mostly Caucasian people live. Why does that still have to be? We're all people. It doesn't matter what shade we are. As long as we can live together and respect one another, we shouldn't have to be limited to a specific community.
If you, how do you think your community is viewed by others?
Well, I live in the Woodlawn community, so it's that medium slash affluent neighborhood. You know, they're about to build the Barack Obama Library. So I think as a whole, it's a very positive community, but there's certain pockets that we definitely need to work on, so on and so forth. But as a whole, I do like it a lot.
If you think the view is wrong or unfair, is there a way to change how your community is viewed by others and how?
I mean, perception is a lot. Before people even have a conversation with you, they're observing. They're seeing what's on the news, what's in the newspaper. So we have to work on that, how we are perceived. When I go to different states and I tell people I'm from Chicago, they tense up. Oh, it's a lot of gun violence. People are killing kids, so on and so forth. So we have to change that perception, how people view us, period.
All cities have to deal with issues like violence. How does the issue of violence in Chicago compare to other major cities?
I know we're not the only city that deals with this, but for some reason, everybody knows. So other states might have a shooting or something like that, but when it comes to Chicago, it seems like other states know faster than we do, or we're always, it's like this big eye is on us. Everybody wants to know what's going on in Chicago. Also, the president has said things about Chicago as well, and the violence and bringing in, you know, troops and extra police and so on and so forth. So when the president says something like that, all eyes are on us.
What are the top 3 issues or concerns that you would like to address and start a dialogue with your community about?
So first is safety. Everybody should be free to walk around their neighborhood and not have to look behind their shoulders or duck if they hear gunshots. So we need to talk about that. Also, coming together as a community. Let's do more things in the community besides waiting till the summer to have a block party. Okay? So as a community, what can we do to keep our community safe? What can we do to look out for each other and keep that positivity going in the community?
If you were in charge of the media, what would you show and what would you do to change the perception of how people view you and your community?
Well, for me, I'm always, you know, I want people need to show the truth. So stop cutting things out. Sometimes the media does that. We only get that snippet. So show everything. And then we're able to make a decision on what we see and what we hear. The news media is notorious for doing that. So I'm an honest person. If I was working, you know, my goal is to show everything and let people be the judge of what they see, because that's important. Because if you're only getting partial information, you're not going to come to the right conclusions. So that's something the media needs to work on.
How do you see Chicago in the future? Is it good or bad? And if it is bad, can it be prevented?
I would hope that we can move forward. I know that there are some times where we wish that we don't live here. I've never said that, and I'm 42. I just think that sometimes we've lost our way, and we need to figure out a way to regain it back, because Chicago is a beautiful place to be, to live, especially in the summertime, and a lot of people like to come here. We need to get back to that. So we need to go back to the basics.
Oh, what question would you like to ask your community?
What can we do as a community to uplift our community, and how can we do that?